Video number 102 from MythoReligio series book 4, The Lost Paradise of Atlantis, Lemuria or Mu. Part 5, about Lemuria and Mu. Dear fellow truth seekers, in video number 98 I have shared the background information concerning how the Western world heard about the sunken paradise of Atlantis, an island that submerged in the middle of the ocean due to the anger of the gods. Many people have been obsessed trying to prove that this legendary place really existed, and many locations in the world have been proposed for its location. In video number 99 until video number 101, I have shared the proposed location of Atlantis in several areas in the Americas, Europe, Turkey, Antarctica, and Asia. And in this video, I will continue sharing all the information that I know of about other legendary sunken paradise or civilization or continent, namely Lemuria and Mu. Lemuria and Mu. Lemuria and Mu are sometimes distinct and sometimes interchangeable names for a legendary lost continent, which according to its proponents existed in the Caribbean Ocean and had many of the attributes associated with Atlantis. The mysterious lost islands of Lemuria and Mu were conceived of during the 19th century when the theory of evolution was introduced and was among the advances in the science that challenged conventional ways of understanding life. Archaeological discoveries among the ruins of the Egyptians, Mayans, and other societies were forcing new interpretations of history, and radical forms of mysticism such as theosophy were becoming popular. References to the lost continent of Mu can be traced back in 1864 and a French archaeologist named Charles-Étienne Brasseur de Bourbourg. He had become fascinated by hieroglyphics found on Mayan ruins that dated back several centuries. By the time the Spanish explorers had reached the New World areas of Mexico and Central America in the 1500s, the great centers of Mayan civilization had long been abandoned and were being reclaimed by the rainforests. Brasseur traveled to Spain to look at artifacts of Mayan civilization. In a library in Madrid, he discovered a purported guide to Mayan hieroglyphics. Using the guide to decipher a rare Mayan manuscript, he learned about an ancient land that had sunk into the ocean after a volcanic eruption. Figures corresponding to letters M and U were connected with the lost land, and Brasseur determined that the lost continent was named Mu. Using that same guide, however, later scholars were unable to decipher such a story, or to even make sustained and meaningful text from the hieroglyphics. It was not until the mid-20th century that a thorough guide to interpreting Mayan hieroglyphics was established. Nevertheless, Brasseur's version of a lost continent won some favorable attention. An archaeologist named Augustus Plongeon, 1825-1908, used a similar key to decipher hieroglyphics at one of the first excavations of Mayan sites. He allegedly uncovered a story about two brothers who vied for a queen named Mu, which he connected with Mu. One of the brothers was killed, and the other took power just before a catastrophe struck Mu. Queen Mu fled before the catastrophe. Speculations quickly added that she had reached Egypt, became revered as the goddess Isis, founded Egyptian civilization, and directed the building of the Sphinx. In the mid-19th century, Charles Darwin's 1809-1882 Theory of Evolution, Origin of the Species was published. Although the theory became widely accepted among scientists, it was also extremely controversial. One point of contention concerned an animal and layers of sediment found in South Africa, the island of Madagascar, and India, all of which are in the same region but separated by expanses of water. The lemur, a predecessor of monkeys, had the same traits in each locale. According to Darwin's theory, the animals should have developed some unique traits respective to the different environments. Similarities in sediments in each of the areas also raised questions. Scientists began to speculate that the land bridge once existed in the Indian Ocean that connected the three areas. English zoologist Philip L. Sclater proposed the name Lemuria after the lemur for this former land now sunk in the Indian Ocean. The land bridge idea was supported by noted scientists including German naturalist Heinrich Haeckel (1834–1919) and Alfred Russel Wallace (1823–1913), who had developed a theory of evolution similar to Darwin's. Seas and continents were thought to be immobile in those days before the theory of continental drift, and no fossils of early humans had yet been found. Haeckel used Lemuria, which had sunk into the sea, to explain the absence of early human fossils. Lemuria became a respected term among educated people in Europe and America. Thus, the lost continent of Lemuria began with science, but its renowned spread has been sustained through mysticism. Science has since discounted the land bridge and lost continent theories, and evidence of early humans was found during the 20th century in Africa. James Churchward, 1832–1936, was among the first mystics to promote Lemuria as the lost continent of an advanced human race. Beginning in the 1870s, Churchward said Lemuria was a paradise of 64 million people, and that it was destroyed around 10,000 BCE. According to Churchward, Lemurians developed homes with transparent roofs, lived to be hundreds of years old, and were capable of telepathy, astral travel, and teleportation. Lemuria, according to Churchward, was about 5,000 miles long and 3,000 miles wide and stretched to the Pacific Ocean, where islands of the present day are former mountain peaks of the lost continent. In the 1880s, Helena Petrovna Blavatsky, 1831–1891, formed the Theosophical Society with psychic investigator Henry Steele Olcott. In her book The Secret Doctrine, 1888, she claimed to have learned of Lemuria in the Book of Dizan, which she said was composed in Atlantis and shown to her by survivors of that lost continent. Her source may have been Sanskrit legends that tell of the former continent of Rutas that sank beneath the sea. Lemurians, according to Blavatsky, were the third of 7 root races of humankind. They were hermaphrodites with psychic abilities and a third eye. Atlanteans, he stated, were the 4th root race. They evolved from Lemurians after much of Lemuria sank, and they lived on the edge of the continent in the northern Atlantic. Atlantis sank around 8000 BCE, according to Blavatsky, and its inhabitants fled to Central Asia. Rudolf Steiner, 1861–1925, who founded anthroposophy, was another proponent of Lemuria. Certain land masses on the planet are supposedly the last remains of Lemuria, from Pacific Islands, Fiji, Hawaii, and Easter Island to the west coast of the United States. According to some Lemurian enthusiasts, in 1972, the ruins of a submerged Lemurian city was found between Maui and Oahu in the Hawaiian island chain and was covered up in a top-secret project by U.S. Naval Intelligence. Other mystics have envisioned the elders of Lemuria, known as the 13th School, who moved to an uninhabited plateau of Central Asia, now called Tibet, before the catastrophe that wiped out their land. They established a library and a school of spiritual adepts known as the Great White Brotherhood. Dear fellow truth seekers, so did Atlantis, Lemuria, and/or Mu really exist? Or were these lost paradises actually the one and the same as the sunken land of the religious/mythical heroes such as Noah, Krishna, Rama, Manu, Ziusudra, Coxcox, et al.? If so, could it be that the religious books and world myth had been telling us about the true prehistory of mankind after all? I have my own theory whether these civilizations specifically Atlantis and Mu, really existed and their connection to the overall prehistory of humanity. But I cannot share it yet. I will do it when it is time to do so, after sharing all the information needed to draw a conclusion. Right now, I'm just sharing all the information that I can gather on this topic. Next time, I will start another new playlist entitled Forbidden Archaeology, where I will share with you evidence that our prehistory is much, much older than what is told by conventional historians. At the meantime, allow me to thank you for watching and hope to see you in my next video.